Okay, so there really wasn't any blood in that at all. There was a lot of grunting, though. Like every grunt is timed perfectly. Tell me, I noticed they did it the same way both times. Yeah. I got to direct this question to you because you don't actually take part in the killing, Jonathan.
I don't.
I mean, something like that. How long does it take you to get that down?
Well, any kind of stage combat it does take a good chunk of time. What do they say? It's like 10 for every 10 seconds or for every minute?
Every second should be an hour of rehearsal, technically.
Something like that.
You know?
1 second for every, or 1
and that's
hour
sort of over the course of the whole rehearsal period. By the time you get to to opening night, you should have put in 1 hour for every second of combat.
Yeah, because if it's going to look at all, you know, I mean, it's a bit like, you know, professional wrestlers. They do what they do, you know, every minute of their day is spent doing what they do, but of course that's all they do.
Right.
Well, in the context of a play, when you're putting on a big, long piece of Shakespeare, you know, and you have this fight. Often in Shakespeare, the fights are, well, they're always crucial. Sometimes they're central. In this case, it's central.
Right.
Usually they come at the end of the play, and if you do them, you know, so you've been talking, you know, Hamlet's a good example. You talk all the way through the play for 3 hours. You talk, and then you have to fight, and it's like,
and then
you know,
die.
Yeah, and then you have to die. So the fight has to be good. It has to be convincing. So that requires a whole lot of work, and it also it requires a lot of work in order that the actors don't actually hurt
remain safe.
Because you have a long run of a play, and in a festival like this, you're running a play for 6 months. You have all kinds of opportunities to make a mistake, so you want to minimize the chance of that happening as much as possible. So you do. You work on those things a lot. You work them fairly, you know.
If a fight scene really isn't convincing on any number of levels, and most importantly safe as well, then the play is over. You know, like if we get to Macduff and Mackers at the end there, we don't believe that fight. All that work those actors have done, be it Hamlet or Mackers and all the other supporting characters, it kind of goes out the window. So that's because
the play will actually fizzle then.
So it's a real art form.
Are those like real knives, or I mean, not rubber?
No, they're not. They're made of, I don't know exactly what they're made of, but they're not, they're certainly not rubber. Like we're trying to avoid actually, because if you really actually took them and did that to, you know, and didn't protect the other person as you were doing it, or didn't, or if you missed, it could be quite painful for some. You know, we have these. The rubber knives look like rubber knives. So we're not.
And they bend like rubber.
Yeah, and they bend like rubber.
And you know, sometimes the actor has the belief that it can't wound somebody or injure them somehow. But of course, they end up doing more with a rubber knife than they would with an actual weapon, a piece of metal. They're more respectful of that. You know.
Of course. Well, it looked pretty exciting for sure. So let's talk a bit about this play. As I said, I think everyone's heard of Julius Caesar, but I suspect a lot of people don't really know this play. I mean, I suspect a lot of people think Julius Caesar was emperor of Rome, for instance, but he's not.
No, Rome was a republic.
That's right. So he's the last gasp in a technical sense of the Roman Republic. What in this play? This play starts sometime after Caesar's come back from his adventures in Egypt, which we saw last year in Bernard Shaw's very different play, Caesar and Cleopatra. He's killed Pompey. He comes back a local hero, very successful. What can between the two of you, can you fill our viewers in on exactly what happens in this play?
Well, what's interesting is, he is a returning hero, and even in the course of the play, in the early parts of the play, we learn of him sort of thrice refusing the crown at the Lupercal, and he has grandioseness about him, but at the same time, he's an ailing Caesar, and he's given to fits of sort of grandiose and almost kind of ludicrous behavior, or what one might, self-centered behavior, or and paranoid behavior, and fits and dreams and seizures. And so it's a really interesting portrait. Like I remember hearing that, you know, Shaw himself said it was a great. It was a great betrayal of who Caesar was for Shakespeare to write the Caesar he did, but I think he wrote a very interesting Caesar. You know.
So the Romans offer him a crown, and this is a scary thing for Romans, because they had some pretty bad memories of kings.
Well, yeah, the Rome was founded on the principles of being a republic. That no one man should have the ultimate authority of a king,
and is greater than the whole. Yeah.
And Caesar, at least the way the play is written, Caesar comes in with all intentions to become a king, with the intention to assume the crown, and that the senators around him are very nervous about this, and that's what prompts them to assassinate him.
Right. Yeah. And you are brought in, as Brutus, you are brought into this assassination plot, not entirely willingly, right?
Well, the way Shakespeare writes Brutus very ambiguously. I mean, it's a tough part to get inside in that sense, because you're not given you are given lots of motivations for doing what you do, but the amount of clarity as to how you're feeling about it moment to moment it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky to negotiate, and he writes it that way very deliberately. Brutus has a great monologue very near the beginning of the play where he's hashing out the reasons for needing to kill Caesar, and even within that monologue he contradicts himself. It's a great part. It's the beginning of those great sort of classical heroes that he then writes a lot of, heroes and villains, Hamlet and Iago and Mackers and Othello. He's beginning that kind of writing, I think, in some ways with